What's up, everybody, and welcome to our brand new episode of the
Geek Buddies! Hey!
We're back at it with our end of the week show, here to talk about all things going on in the world of geekdom that we did not cover in our previous show a few days ago. So we're excited to dive into some stuff going on with Batman Part 2, some comic book news. That's right, comic book news, the rare sighting on the Geek Buddies. And we're going to get into some stuff about Daredevil and do our spoiler review of Peacemaker Episode 5 here of Season 2. So much to get into here, but let's introduce ourselves first for those who might be new to the show. I am John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel, writer and producer of animated TV shows, movies, and video games.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor where if you go to HBO Max right now, you can see me on the Emmy award-winning pit.
Oh, boy.
Episodes 2 and 10, which were really the ones that clinched the win.
The drama, yeah, of course. And you two gentlemen are back from going to Disney yesterday. As Shannon was telling me before you came on, Michael. You guys were there literally almost 12 hours. Oh my God. What is there to do for 12 hours in Disney, man?
You know, sometimes you just need to take a break from reality.
Well, that's fair. I think that's fair. That's as close as we're going to come to that. All right, let's move on to our topics here. Let's go into the first one, and that is Batman #1. For those of you who may not know, there is a comic book that has come out here. Batman #1 has come out a few weeks ago here, written by Matt Fraction, who did a great Hawkeye run, an X-Men run, really fantastic writer there, and artist Jorge Jimenez. The big news is that this issue has sold over 500,000 copies, and that number puts the title as the top-selling comic book of the year. They're speculating they might not be topped, but there is a comic coming out with Batman and Deadpool, I think, crossing over. So that's going to be interesting to see how that reaction to it all is, to that comic is. But the previous one, the previous top seller for the year was in Batman #158, which featured the return of DC chief Jim Lee to drawing duties in this sequel to his and writer Jeff Loeb's classic Hush storyline. Interesting timing on that. And that one sold over 400,000 copies. So, Mikey, you're a big comic books guy. What's the big news about this? Why is the Hollywood Reporter even commenting on this? Does this indicate that comics might be coming back, or what's going on?
I mean, I think it just indicates that it's a really good comic. You know, I mean, I do think that, to your point, Matt Fraction is a well-known in the world of comic books, well-known comic book writer, well-liked comic book writer. Jimenez is an amazing artist. He's one of the artists that James Gunn used to make the announcement about Man of Tomorrow with the Superman and Lex art, in addition to Jim Lee, and I forget who the third artist was. But it's just great art, and it's been hyped really big. DC's been really, really behind this launch of this new Batman comic. And look, I think that it's not on the level of, but when you are a casual comic book fan, when it comes to Batman, when it comes to the X-Men, which are two of the more popular, well-known comic book titles out there, it's sometimes hard to get in. You go to the store, you go, oh, well, you've got Detective Comics number 1392, you've got Batman Adventures, you've got Batman and Damian, you've got all these different things, and X-Men is the same. So sometimes when a title comes out and it is a #1, and it is very clear that it is the start of a new story, and it has a kick-ass artist on it, just like way back in the day when that X-Men #1 came out, which is one of the first comic books I bought as a kid. This has the same kind of vibe to it, and I think that's what it really is. There was an accessibility to this comic that also happens to be the beginning of a great story with absolutely fantastic art in it. I know John has mentioned recently that he's been really into the Absolute comics from DC. Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman. I think there's Absolute Flash, Absolute Green Lantern, Absolute Martian Manhunter. The Absolute titles are another example of, I don't really know where to begin in comics, but these are their own thing. It's a little bit of a separate story. So I think what it really points to is, and this is a good thing, I think, is that because of superhero movies being such a huge part of our current pop culture landscape, because we have superhero TV shows, because we have shows like The Penguin getting Emmy nominations and Emmy awards, there is an interest in comic books, and people just don't know how to get in. Batman #1, great way to get in.
Yeah, great recommendations here, Mike. Yeah, this came out on September 3rd, so it's been out as we're recording this about 16 days. And as I said, selling 500,000 copies that quickly is pretty amazing. Shannon, this is being described. This is the 4th time they have renumbered Batman in its 84-year history. That's an incredible stat, and we happen to be alive for one of these renumbering, which is a blessing to us. But the comic reimagines Gotham City with what DC describes as, quote, superhero forward tone, a sleek new Batmobile, and a vivid blue and gray costume that signals a shift both in style and storytelling. So what do you think about this news, Shannon? What are your feelings when you hear this being covered by like the Hollywood Reporter and Variety and all these places that don't normally cover comics that strongly?
Well, I think the coincidental timing of Superman having come out over the summer and doing well, and we know Supergirl is coming next summer. We have the next chapter of the Superman story coming out 27. Yeah, this is not, to me, a huge coincidence. Matt Fraction is a great writer. I mean, again, we all talked about his run on Hawkeye. Like that run was so good that Marvel, the MCU, did a very faithful adaptation. Like, they obviously made some changes for the small screen. But it's not like Matt Fraction has a proven track record, and like going back to that classic lighter blue and gray costume, you know, starting with, I think it was Batman the Animated Series, like they went to that kind of black and gray that was on the heels of Tim Burton making the suit all black. I think this is kind of hearkening back to a classic Batman. I mean, even one of the covers that you put up there just a moment ago, Johnny, it is very similar to the first promotional image that we got of Superman. It's literally a superhero. It looks like he's disrobing at this point, but it's a superhero who is you know, putting his boots on. I mean, getting ready to go out and do the job. So I actually, because I wasn't sure when the first issue had come out, so I Googled it, and Target already has the volume 1 paperback earmarked for June 2026 release. So I mean, I'm going to meet a friend of ours for lunch today. I probably will be swinging by a comic book shop and picking up Batman #1.
Yeah, me too. I'm definitely going to pick this one up because, as Michael mentioned, I'm getting back into them now through the Absolute series. I finished off the first 12 that have been dropped so far, I think, of Absolute Batman, and I've moved on to Absolute Superman and really enjoying it as well. I'll be moving on to Flash and Martian Manhunter. And the Absolute titles have been a surprise success for DC. They themselves have said that they are surprised by how much of a success it's been reinventing these heroes, which, of course, is led by Scott Snyder and drawn by Nick Dragotta. And this follows all of this combined, Batman #1, then the Batman #158, and then the Absolute series. All of this stuff is leading to a very powerful year for DC. And the timing, Michael, is interesting because it seems like, as you said, this is the time where people are kind of looking for more. Maybe they're not satisfied in the cinema, so they're going to go back to something that is the source of what all this stuff is that's coming out in the cinema and on TV.
Or they are liking what's in the cinema and they want to read more. I mean, I think either way works. And I think that, you know, to Shannon's point about the blue and gray suit, look, a superhero forward Gotham City where Batman is in blue and gray and not entirely in shadow and black lines up pretty well with where James Gunn has said he wants to go with Brave and the Bold.
That's true.
So I don't think switching over to the blue and gray is an accident. Now, what I will caution, and I will say that I think Marvel has gotten a lot of criticism over the past several years as comic book fans have seen characters in the comic book universe get twisted around, get their origins changed to sync up with what's happening in the MCU.
Right.
Most particularly, Miss Marvel comes to mind, who was an Inhuman and then became a mutant because she's going to be a mutant in the MCU universe. And I do think there's some dissatisfaction with that. I think that when you go too far, now look, I don't think that changing Batman's suit to blue and gray and kind of putting him in a superhero forward city is akin to Miss Marvel being turned from an Inhuman into a mutant. But I do think that DC should take a lesson from that page and go, look, you don't have to turn the DC Comics universe into whatever James Gunn's DC universe is going to be to make people come to the comics.
Right.
What we're seeing here is they're going to come to the comics because they want to know more about these characters. They like them. And I do think things like the Absolute titles are a great jumping on point. I think the absolute titles are kind of DC's answer to what Marvel has done in the past and is currently doing with their Ultimate Universe.
Right.
But with the exception of Hickman's Ultimate Spider-Man, which I absolutely think everybody should go read because it's so much fun, I think the Ultimate Universe does suffer from some titles not being as strong as others and getting a little bit too interconnected too quickly, whereas the absolute titles are all their separate things that are eventually going to connect in some big crossover. But right now, Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Superman, and the other titles are all completely separate and completely their own things, which again makes them easier to dive into.
Yeah, one of the things they noted with the Absolute series is how even the Martian Manhunter series has sold in the six figures, and that's amazing in terms of the amount that it's sold. So it's great to see that, and we can and I can't wait to read Batman #1 and jump onto that storyline because I'm finding myself getting back into it. So I might be joining Shannon at a different comic book shop as I buy stuff today later on as well.
Well, as the geek buddy who never stopped reading comics, I am glad that you two are back on board the train.
You know, it's just because I can't borrow them from you anymore.
Borrow.
Yeah,
borrow.
Let's not get into that. Let's stick it with Batman because tomorrow is Batman Day as we're recording this. Let's talk about the Batman Part 2. Matt Reeves is the one talking about the Batman Part 2 a lot. He's on for a new interview, which you guys can watch on Josh Horowitz's channel on the for the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast. And he was asked about what's going on with the Batman Part 2, and he said we haven't talked about anything like that in terms of Batman remaining doing what he's doing in terms of the James Gunn universe. That we haven't talked anything about that. We have had conversations about how things could work and all that kind of stuff, just in general. So of course it would be a lot of fun. What I really want to do is play out these stories that we began and arrive at the conclusion I've hoped we would have arrived at from the beginning. It's very exciting. And as far as James Gunn, first of all, I'm flattered. That's very kind of James to say. It would be really exciting to work with them, of course. We're working with them on the Batman Part 2. I mean, it is DC, so like it's Elseworld, but it is DC, so it's theirs as well. What the future brings and what I'm doing will become clear when it comes clear. And he said about the Batman thing, well, it's funny because I had a lot of ideas, and then Masson Tomlin, who is my writing partner, we began the process of this by doing another deep dive into the comics, exploring the ideas, and he gave me some of the ideas he had. We sat together, watched a lot of movies, and all that kind of stuff. And just to explore what the story is, there's an exploration to be had. And one of the explorations for me was to do something that pushes even further into the character of Bruce Wayne. A lot of the other films, which I love, once you get past the origin tale, then you start telling the rogues gallery. I never want to lose Rob at the center of these stories. So picking the right villain that digs into what that does and goes into his past and his life, that's what drove the discussion. We're super excited about it. And I will say it's never really been done in a movie before, a villain like this. So that got a lot of tongues wagging. So let's start first with your reaction to these comments. I went to Mike first. So Shannon, I'll go to you first on this one. What do you think about Matt Reeves' comments? Is it just more creator comments, not giving too much away? Or is he teasing something interesting? And he did confirm that it is Elseworld, you know?
Oh, I don't think he's teasing anything. I think his as of right now, his idea is that his Batman is going to remain separate from James Gunn's new DC universe. So I don't think it's maybe. I don't think there's any subtext in there that's like, oh, maybe they'll come together. I'm not sure. I think as of right now, like those two are going to be firmly separate. And the whole idea that Matt Reeves could take on another character in James Gunn's DC universe, considering it is going to have taken 5 years to get the Batman Part 2. Who knows, there will be as big a gap between Part 2 and Part 3, presuming there is a Part 3, but I think Matt Reeves is probably going to be unavailable for James Gunn's DC universe for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, fair point. Michael, what do you take away from these comments? Anything to parse out here?
I take it a little bit differently than Shannon. It sounds like he is tap dancing around a bunch of conversations that he's not supposed to talk about and doesn't want to talk about. It sounds like he wants to finish his trilogy. Yeah. And he doesn't want Superman and Maxwell Lord flying into Gotham City in the middle of his trilogy. I think he has a story he wants to tell, and he's had a story he wants to tell. And he's basically saying, look, I want to finish my fucking trilogy. After that, who knows? We'll see. I do think like there's probably a lot of Warner Brothers executives and DC executives and other people looking at calendars, looking at movies that are coming out, knowing that, okay, if we have these two Batman movies and we just keep pushing this down the curb and doing this, and Batman gets to wherever he's going to get at the end of this movie, Can it link up? Would it link up? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I do think that the way that we sort of go back and forth, whether it be James Gunn, whether it be Matt Reeves, whether it be anybody, with this whole, no, they're separate, it's Elseworlds. But I mean, who knows? I mean, it would be great to work with these. I mean, we really respect each other. I mean, you never know where you go down the road. I mean, obviously we're having conversations, but we do think this is a separate thing. But like, of course these worlds could be together, but like, they don't have to be together. It's just a constant sort of gobbledygook that basically goes, yeah, y'all have not decided and nobody wants to say anything. That's what it sounds like to me.
Fair point. He also said this: the villain, which I hit at the end of my intro here. The villain has never really been done in a movie before. He has no idea if the Batman 3 will happen, and he says it's a lot of fun to make the DCU project. He said it would be a lot of fun to do a DCU project after it's done with the Batman saga. But I want to focus on the villain who's never really been done in a movie before. These are the villains that a lot of people are speculating: Hush, Hugo Strange, the Mad Hatter, and Court of Owls. So, Michael, you speak about a trilogy. Do you think there's going to be one of these out of these four that I've mentioned here that could be in it as the main villain, but maybe a couple of these other ones that will lead us into a third one? What are your thoughts on who might be the villain here?
I mean, I'm out of those, and in general, I mean, when I read what he said, I was like, okay, yeah, he's going to do Tommy Elliott in the Court of Owls. Like Tommy Elliott in the Court of Owls, like really, because less that I'm looking at a hit list of who hasn't been done before. I want to focus on Bruce Wayne as a big thing, but the bigger part of it is you just have to watch the Batman. Like it's basically spelled out, as particularly when you take the Batman and then take the events of the Penguin. I know Oz Cobb is not going to be a big part of Batman 2, but when you look at how tight the universe of Gotham and what happened is, like, the Batman is about the Riddler is pissed because a bunch of people said they got drugs off the street, but what they really did was put Sal Maroni in jail and blame him for everything and let Carmine Falcone run everything, including the renewal bill that the Waynes tried to start that really just became a slush fund for everybody to like do corrupt shit. And then you find out later the whole backstory of Thomas Wayne kind of told Carmine Falcone, can you keep this journalist away from my wife and her back history? And then that guy killed him. And then did he want him to kill him? Did he not want to kill him? And that the Elliots were somehow a part of that. And so when you look at all of this together and you look at how you got to the events of the Penguin and the Carmine Falcone, Sal Maroni stuff was a huge part of that. So it all is tied really closely to the Waynes, this renewal bill, the corruption of Gotham, the rich underneath eating the poor, like all the secrets that they have, secrets in the Wayne family that they wanted to cover up, the Elliots being upset at the Waynes. Like you just look at the backstory of what's been built and you look at how that backstory gave us such an awesome arc in the Penguin and you go, okay, yeah, the big families of Gotham are corrupt and have been running things for a long time. The Elliots, subtextually with what were sort of shown in newspaper clippings and stuff in the Batman, had beef with the Waynes. And so, and I do like what Matt Reeves said about once you get through Bruce's origin, you kind of get to, okay, well now let's tell the Joker story. Now let's go dive into the Bane story. Now let's dive into this story. Whereas like if Bruce is trying to figure out how he fits into this whole arc of Gotham, and he is the heir of one of the richest families, and you do find out that there is still this underbelly of rich families. That's the Elliots. That's the Court of Owls. So I really think that leans those both, like Hugo Strange is cool. Mad Hatter's a lot of fun. We've never seen him. And maybe there's ways that those characters or the Joker or even the Riddler coming back into things can still be a part of this bigger story. But when you're really diving into Bruce and the Waynes, it's Tommy Elliott in the Court of Owls.
Yeah, what do you think about this, Shannon? Because someone found a clip from during the press junket for the Batman, and you have Robert Pattinson, Jeffrey Wright, Zoe Kravitz, and Paul Dano talking about the Court of Owls and like essentially nerdgasming about the possibility of the Court of Owls storyline being a part of their sequel. What do you think about this? Do you think it is Court of Owls, or do you look at other Hush, or do you look at these other characters that could be part of it?
I mean, Hush and the Court of Owls seem to be, especially for this world, they seem to kind of fit the best. And like having these, these people behind the curtain who've been pulling the strings the whole time. I mean, will Tommy Elliott Tommy Elliott be part 2 and the Court of Owls part 3? Maybe. I mean, and I think like Hugo Strange as a character, he would fit in this world. Is he big enough to be kind of your big bad? It doesn't seem like it. That's kind of like the same way I see like Mad Hatter. It's just like Mad Hatter to me would be, if you wanted to use him in a movie, you're going to use him the way Nolan used Scarecrow. Like he's going to be sort of a supporting player out there. But especially when Matt Reeves was talking about getting to know Bruce Wayne more, you know, you look at who Bruce Wayne knew, and Tommy Elliott, you know, they were kids together. So that seems like the most likely choice. And again, something could come down the pipe and blow all of our doors off, and something we never even considered. But for the world that's been set up, it seems like Court of Owls and Hush.
And I also think that, you know, a big part of the Batman that some people didn't like, but I do think is interesting, is that we haven't gotten to the Bruce Wayne that has any desire to have any part of being Bruce Wayne. Like the Bruce Wayne that we meet in the Batman is like, I don't care about this life. I don't care about my legacy is what I'm doing here in the shadows. Like my legacy is Bruce Wayne. I don't give a shit about. I'm Batman. And we get to the end of the movie and we have the great moment where he sort of realizes he needs to be more of an inspiring figure than a scary figure, and he helps everybody post-flood. But I do think Bruce kind of going on a journey, particularly with what he learns about his father and Carmine Falcone, like him going on a journey, even though Alfred was like, no, what they told you about your dad is not true. This is what's true. Your dad was actually a good man. There's still a lot to uncover. And I think Bruce going on a journey to find out more about his parents and the backstory that Matt Reeves has sort of given us, which is a much grayer version of Thomas and Martha, would 100% lead Bruce and ultimately Batman towards Tommy Elliott, the Court of Owls, all of this stuff. So it really just seems like it's just teed up to do that.
Also, we're in a place of wanting to explore corruption behind the scenes, from
to eat the rich.
Basically, no matter what side of the fence you're on, I think politically, everybody is kind of looking at these billionaires who are dictating our world and pushing back against it. So you would take advantage of the mood of the times to do a show like this as well. So or a movie like this rather. So I'm looking forward to it. I would love to see the Court of Owls live action as well. All right, well, speaking of someone on a personal journey, we're going to get a new season of this dude, Daredevil Born Again. Matt Murdock on his own personal journey. Marvel has officially given the green light for a third season of Daredevil Born Again. I thought Charlie Cox told me the second season was it, but no, apparently not, as Vincent D'Onofrio corrected him. Brad Winderbaum, head of streaming at Marvel Studios, confirmed the renewal with IGN this past week, saying, quote, in terms of Daredevil, we are greenlit for season 3 and we start shooting next year. The season was one of the most anticipated Marvel releases. And while critics and audiences were mixed on it on the initial run earlier this year, the title struggled to get in the Nielsen streaming top 10. But people are excited for season 2 because of what they saw at the end of the first season. So Shannon, are you surprised by any of this? And does this give you hope that season 2 is probably going to be a banger, since they've already greenlit a season 3?
I mean, hopefully. I mean, when they were shooting season 1, we were pretty sure season 2 was already greenlit. But I kind of think, you know, a lot of times, with especially the age of information that we live in, someone might misspeak and it immediately gets reported, with like Charlie Cox saying, oh yeah, the final season, or the series finale, when he meant to say season finale. I mean, I think that stuff, people immediately start dissecting that statement where it may have just been a slip of the tongue. In terms of the first season, like when a show is good, the audience tends to build. And because the show started off okay, and then it was sort of in this weird, is this good? Is this not? I mean, people fall off. I think the advantage that season 2 has is that there will be enough time between season 1 and season 2 for people to come back, because even though you may not have loved season 1, you still love the parts. You still love Charlie Cox. You still love Vincent D'Onofrio. The parts still work. And by the end of the season, after they went through that big creative overhaul, hopefully they have found the path that they want to go down. And again, I sort of jokingly said, well, season 2 was probably already greenlit while they were still doing the first version of season 1. Hopefully they have kind of found the direction that they're going to go, and it does line up with what we got at the end of the season versus what we got kind of in the middle.
Yeah. Michael, what are your thoughts on this? And did you already suspect there was a season 3 coming? Or what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, my thoughts are if Marvel's coming out now saying it when apropos of nothing, like they don't need to say it.
Right.
You know, Brad Wonderbaum could have just as easily said, yeah, you know, because he said this in the past that we're hoping that we have the new TV strategy is not to do just a special event that ties into the next movie, but to have its own separate thing where we can have multiple seasons of a show. Like they've laid all that out as their strategy. But they didn't have to come out right now. We're like, yeah, we'll see how season 2 does, and hopefully we'll have a season 3, even if they knew that they were going to greenlight it. So the fact that they're coming out and saying it leads me to believe that they're happy with what they're getting on season 2.
Yeah.
You know, like basically what it means is, okay, good. Everybody agrees that I think you guys are being a little kind to season 1. The middle of season 1 was just garbage television. Like it was an absolute disaster. It was a mess. The reason people dropped off and it didn't break into the Nielsen's is because of exactly what Shannon said. A casual comic book person watched basically any episode, like pick 80% of the episodes of season 1 and went, I don't know what the fuck this is. This is horrible. Now, if you know the backstory and you know the way that they reshot things in the first episode and the last 2 episodes were the different showrunners and yada, 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 as we all do and everyone who's listening to us knows, you end it and you go, okay, well, I kind of liked where we ended. It was still a mess, but it gives me hope. So what this announcement says is, okay, well, with the new creative team kind of driving everything, we're good. Marvel's happy. They're willing to say we're good for season 3. So it means they're feeling good. Does that mean we're all going to feel good? I hope so, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Sometimes Marvel feels really good about something and audiences are like, you shouldn't have felt so good about that, as was the case with Quantumania.
That's true.
So, you know, like there's times that they think they've got it and you're like, do you have it? Do you still have your finger on the pulse? I don't know, but I would like Daredevil to be awesome.
Yeah.
I would like us to talk about Daredevil the way that we talk about Andor or Alien Earth or some of the other shows, or even Agatha All Along, where we're like, this is great. Like, this is just fun. It's interesting. It knows what it's supposed to be. I would be more than happy if we got that out of Daredevil. So hopefully this team, unfettered by the previous baggage that they had to deal with in season 1, is just running and gunning.
I hope so too. I always thought it was suspicious that when Vincent came out, it was like, no, he misspoke. We haven't. That to me seemed like they were probably already considering it and thinking about it, talking about it, and hoping they could land that season 3. So to me, this is not much of a surprise, but I agree with you guys. I think it does signify that they have a little bit of confidence in season 2. And we'll see if it's warranted or not when we actually see these episodes, but that does excite me that we're going to get more of the story to tell, and we're going to explore more of Matt Murdock's life, Kingpin's life, and hopefully smooth over some of the bumpiness from season 1. I'm looking at his girlfriend. Hopefully we're smooth over a lot of this stuff, and like we're getting a much more streamlined show that's going to excite us to look forward to. We're about to talk Peacemaker. I mean, you want that kind of excitement where people are like, what's the next episode going to be like? You know, and so hopefully
even talking about Daredevil Born Again gives me PTSD. Like even talking about it right now, I start to get the feeling like that was an example. We talk about this where like we were saying this yesterday. Like, yeah, I really enjoy Peacemaker, but I don't wake up in the morning and go, holy shit, Peacemaker. It's Peacemaker Day. But I do enjoy it a lot. Mm-hmm. Alien Earth, I wake up on a Tuesday morning and I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, I got Alien Earth. Yeah. I would wake up on a Daredevil Born Again day and go, okay, I got to watch it at some point. Gotta watch Daredevil Born Again so we can talk about it on the Geek Buddies. But boy, that was not enjoyable.
That was a bank heist. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens once they make the announcements of the date, the release dates, and all of that. We'll, of course, hear news about who's going to be in it, what they're going to cover, and hopefully the excitement will be back. Yeah.
The other thing about it, just really quickly, is that I do think this does signify also, like, real quick. Marvel is making this shift. You know, Marvel kind of famously came into the TV side of things and said, we're going to do TV better than TV people do TV.
Right.
We're going to treat it like movies. We're going to do this whole different thing. And it did not work for them. And they, to their credit, in their way, have more or less admitted that, like, okay, we're going back to more of a TV model. We're going back to showrunner-driven shows that we're going to have multiple seasons that don't have to be treated like a movie. And this news of the season 3 of Daredevil, combined with the rumors that Marvel's very happy with Vision and Terry Metalis. Now, Vision is the last show that's going to be more of a, this is tied to the movie universe and it's going to go. So I don't think we're going to get a season 2, 3, 4, 5 of Vision, but it does mean that they're happy enough with Terry Metalis that maybe he gets his own show that he can run. And I do kind of look forward to seeing if Marvel can kind of move to more of the television model and have a bunch of superhero shows that are higher end than what we used to get in the CW days, but like just continue on multiple seasons that we can all enjoy.
Yeah, Jeff speculated on that last week that he'd heard behind the scenes that Metalis is killing on a Vision and that they might hand him the Nova series, which I think would be really interesting to see from Terry, who's a fantastic creator for sure. One last thing before we leave this section of the show, real quick, gentlemen. We did lose Robert Redford earlier this week at the age of 89 years old, of course, part of the Marvel universe in the tail end of his life, but really established himself a lot of amazing 70s films like 3 Days of the Condor, The Sting, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. So many great films into the 80s with The Natural. And then, of course, the Indecent Proposal film, which really got tongues wagging back in the early 90s. Of course, the Sundance Film Institute won the Oscar for directing For Ordinary People. So, gentlemen, your thoughts on the passing of Robert Redford? Just real quick before we move on to our Peacemaker review. Shannon, I'll go to you first.
You know, it's obviously when he popped up in Endgame, I don't think anyone expected that. I mean, you figured his role as Alexander Pierce that was going to be a one and done, especially because he kind of spilled the beans way before the release date of he was the bad guy. But seeing him pop up, like it was so awesome to see. I mean, even it was one scene, but it was a scene that was not only very essential to the story, but it was just watching him and RDJ and Chris Hemsworth together, like it just made your heart sing. You know, he has been out of the public eye for a while, and you know, we knew he was getting older. The fact that they said he was surrounded by friends and family tells me like, okay, so they kind of knew this was coming. I hadn't heard any news about him getting sick, but Robert Redford he was an old school movie star. He was one of those people that just had that undeniable charisma, like as soon as he stepped on screen. Whether you were watching Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Sting, All the President's Men, he's someone that just made the screen light up. And he leaves behind an incredible career and an incredible legacy with Sundance.
Yeah, Michael, I'm sure your parents were big on Robert Redford. Your thoughts on his passing and his legacy, including the Sundance Film Festival, which has launched so many careers, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel with, you know, the fact that he was in Endgame, the fact that he was in Winter Soldier, great for all of us as geeks, but like the footnote of his career, like maybe like the least important thing of all of the things that Robert Redford has done in his life. It was like, that was a fun day for him. Like that's no big deal. But when you really look at all the things that Robert Redford did, you look at his amazing career, you do, as Shannon said, you look at the way that was in his, like, he was a movie star. He was the guy that every woman and a good percentage of men were like, God damn, that is a sexy man on screen. Like he had the career that anybody wants. And, you know, speaking of my parents, it's funny. My mom just is turning 80 this year. My dad is well into his 80s. And, you know, when I talk to them about their stage in life, kind of them being on like the last leg of the journey, they do get really reflective about it. And they get really reflective of looking back at the things you've done. You look at what you're leaving behind. You look at what's important to you. And we talk about this all the time. And I say this, and I'll probably say this the next time somebody passes, but there's people that pass that you're like, that is a tragedy. And then there's people that pass that you're like, I'm sad that you're gone, but good on you.
What a life.
You did it. What a life. And with Robert Redford at his age, being surrounded by his loved ones, passing away, it's a sad moment when anybody passes, but I kind of felt more like, all right, you can rest now. Yeah. You've done it. You really did it, buddy. Like you did everything that you wanted to do in life. And I don't know you personally, and I don't know your personal life, but as far as what you've left behind for cinema, like, good on you.
Yeah, good on you. A massive legacy for sure. Steve Morris joined me earlier this week for an episode of The Truth where we went through Robert Redford's career for an hour and 20 minutes and just talked about his films, talked about his activism, talked about his upbringing, and I discovered so many things about him. This is not a guy who was born pretty and everything was just handed to him. He went through a lot.
Well, he was born pretty.
Well, fair point. But he went through a lot of trials and tribulations as a young man, flunked out of Colorado University because he was drinking too much, worked on an oil rig so that he could go afford to go paint in Europe, came back and got into acting through set design. It wasn't through acting. It was through set design because he really enjoyed that aspect of it all. So, and he said a great quote. I was watching him last night on the SAG-AFTRA, an interview he did on the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, and he said, the reason I wanted to play the Sundance Kid is because he had a little bit of the outlaw in him, and I've always had a bit of the outlaw in me, and that's speaking my language for sure. So a great man who leaves an incredible legacy and launched I would argue we might not even have the amazing film that we've gotten in the independent film movement if it wasn't for the Sundance Institute and Sundance Festival. And that alone, that's enough of a legacy, let alone the incredible 1970s films, which he left us with, and Ordinary People, which if you haven't seen in a long time, we just did it on the Cinephiles. It still holds up. It's a phenomenal film, a great director, and Quiz Show, which is quietly one of my favorite ones. It doesn't get enough love.
Y'all remember Sneakers?
Of course, Sneakers is great.
Sneakers is, I might pop on Sneakers this weekend.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Not in his top 10, I don't think, but I might watch Sneakers this weekend.
Yeah, it's a fair one. It's a good one, though. A lot of people love it. All right, let's move on to Peacemaker, our review for Peacemaker. This is a spoiler review, so if you haven't watched it, you can turn back now, or if you don't care, keep on going. It's season 2, episode 5 here. This is directed by Alethea Jones, written by James Gunn, and we get more into Chris's journey here in Peacemaker. He is certainly confronted with the possibility that Harcourt, or he thinks Harcourt, is betraying him. We get a flashback with Harcourt being at the funeral of Rick Flag Jr. in this particular universe and having Rick Flag Sr. talk to her. She says she's going to get the person who did this. So we think maybe she might finally be acting on this. We deal with Adebayo and Vigilante kind of dealing with their feelings and emotions, security thing. They teach me what the slang term Greek meant, and I had no idea what that was, which was insane. Chris is eventually captured, and he's beat up by Rick Flag. Economos logs it, though, which helps them to let him go. And then we find out more about Bordeaux, who is a cyborg, and B, possibly starting a relationship with Frank Grillo there. And Eagly takes care of business and becomes the ultimate Eagle. And by the end, Chris takes off into the other universe, which has been teased the entire episode. And he's leaving with Eagly because of the pain he feels and the mistakes he feels that he has made in this universe and wants to do something better in the other universe. And Judo Master follows him in there, and then the gang gets back together to try to bring him back. So, Michael, your thoughts on this episode here, episode 5 of season 2?
You know, it's like I was saying, I don't wake up in the morning and go, holy shit, it's Peacemaker Day. Like, it's not a show that I am like, I love this show. This is this is what superhero shows could be, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Yeah. I've talked to some people. I know for some people, the James Gunn-ness of Peacemaker, which I would say is even more James Gunn than like Superman and some other stuff, like is a little too much for them. They think it's a little too goofy. I know other people that are like, I think Peacemaker is fantastic. I love it. I love every moment of it. I think Tim Meadows' jokes are the best jokes that have ever joked and joked them. And I'm like, I really enjoy it. What I really enjoy in the bigger picture of it is that we took this character who was just a joke in the Suicide Squad and was kind of just a shitty human being, and have just broken him down to the point that I really genuinely am emotionally attached to this character. I'm emotionally attached to his relationship with Harcourt. I am interested to see what happens. I'm curious as to how this device ties into the bigger DC universe and what we're going to see in Man of Tomorrow. And I'm like watching all the pieces. And by the end of this episode, I like that everybody has chosen sides. With all the back and forth and everything, and what is Harcourt doing? Is she betraying Chris? Is she not betraying Chris? Everybody doing. I like that we end this episode with Chris is stranded with Eagly with no way to get out. Judo Master is somewhere in there. We got Argus after them over here. We got the 11th Street Gang over here. We're ready to rock for the next 3 episodes.
Yeah, I would push back on the word stranded. He willfully went into the place. It wasn't an accident. Stranded. I would say he wants to be stranded.
I didn't say stuck. He willfully stranded himself. My point is just like he has no means. He made the choice, on purpose, but he purposefully stranded himself in a universe. He has no way to open that door from the other side without the device.
Right, exactly. Which is really symbolic. Shannon, your thoughts overall on this particular episode? Back to the suture here on Peacemaker.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm kind of like with Vogel. Like we're not champing at the bit for each new episode. Maybe that's going to change with the next 3 because I think, did you get the first 5, John?
I did, yeah, but I didn't watch the last two until the day of release because I wanted to, talk about it with you guys. Yeah,
but the critics had gotten the first 5, and they were holding back the next 3 or the final 3 because there's supposed to be some big stuff that happens towards the end of the season. So I think in a perfect world, you want to get to that place where you're anticipating every episode before your last 3, but I think what we've gotten this far has been good. It has been enjoyable. I mean, again, John Cena continues to do very good work. When James Gunn's balancing act of comedy versus tension, when it works, it works really well. Like the whole opening sequence of Judo Master trying to take him out, and you see he's hiding behind some dogs, he's playing soccer with some kids. Like, that stuff does really work. And knowing that Michael Rooker's character was not entirely full of shit about Eagly was a fun revelation, which ended in one of the more horribly gruesome deaths I think we've gotten in this show.
Yeah, I will say this. I can't believe I'm saying this. I have come over to the Vogel camp. I actually let the intro play today, or yesterday, and I was just like, I kind of like it now, which is so stupid because I hated the intro for the first 4 episodes.
Shannon and I discussed this yesterday. Here's what I'll say. Shannon's issues of it's not as well shot, the choreography isn't as clean.
Right.
I'm not going to argue that. I get what you're saying. Not all of the Frank Grillo is not the best dancer. That song and the 2 Harcourts and Chris dancing between them, the emotional aspects of what is being sort of expressed in the main titles.
Yeah.
That gets me more than the funny over the top nature of the first season. And I love the main title in the first season, but I've been listening to that song from the season 2 opening a whole lot over the past couple weeks.
Yeah, but I think the thing I would say to maybe counter Shannon, not just not to undercut his opinion or anything, but more
never undercut Shannon's opinion here.
I think it's on purpose. I think it's on purpose they're not that strong. I think it's on purpose that it's choreographed in a certain way because everyone is messy. Everyone has multiple motives. No one is standing on solid ground throughout this entire season. And even as we find out in this episode, Rick Flag does a bunch of things in order to manipulate a situation to get what he wants. So people are constantly off kilter. So maybe it's true that they're just not talented in dancing, Shannon, and I totally respect that. But the other side of it may be that this is choreographed. I know, because the first season 1 was choreographed so cleanly because everyone is coming together. You cheer for them coming together. This is a bit more complicated. So, but that being said, I did like this episode, but it did occur to me that I'm not going to be able to properly assess these episodes separately or the overall until the season is done. Then I can understand where everything fits. I certainly enjoyed this episode. It wasn't gangbusters. It didn't make me go, oh my God, this is amazing. But it made me care about the characters more and where they're going more. We even got more, dare I say, we even got more with Flurry, for God's sake.
We did. Yes, I agree. But I would counter to what you're saying just really quickly that, we don't know where Alien Earth is going to end up either. But you are not having a problem going, I have to wait until the end of the season to see if I like these episodes.
Well, because I think those are 2 different shows. They have 2 different goals. And so the thing that I'm getting out of Alien Earth is different than the thing I'm getting out of Peacemaker. Quality withstanding, so, but that's the way I look. But I like it. And I'm enjoying it. I like the change that we got here. But let's move on to the storylines here. Michael, let's go back to you. What do you think about how things were handled with Chris? I mean, we see him at the beginning there. We see him do, as Shannon mentioned, the tricks there because he knows it's all a trap. She said copacetic. We find out that she actually was on his side and it was, trying to warn him and all this kind of stuff, which we had kind of suspected. He tries to elude them all when she says that, I don't have these feelings for you that you think I should have. And that leads to him getting captured. And then eventually he ends up with Rick Flag, and Rick Flag kicks the crap out of him before Bordeaux walks in and sees what's going on. Now, initially we think this is all happening because of such and such. But then Chris, when he comes out of there, thinks he's been betrayed and he then takes off. So do we like the progression of where Chris ended up by the end of this episode? Did you believe it?
I did.
Okay.
I did. First of all, I love the title of the episode, Back to the Suture.
Yeah.
A suture is you stitching up your wound. And the fact that he goes back to this other world to suture up the emotional wounds he has. I was like, great. That is a great alliteration on a great title, and I loved it. What I am very taken with John Cena's portrayal of Chris. Like and I know that Bautista came out this week and was talking about it and was talking about how this role was written for him. Gunn wanted him to be Peacemaker. He was really excited about it. It didn't line up. And then Dave Bautista's like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. What John Cena's doing, I couldn't have done.
Yeah.
I'm envious, but he's doing a better job than me. And does David Bautista really feel that? Is he just saying it for the cameras? I don't know, but it feels like that's genuine. And I feel like he's right. I think David Bautista is an amazing actor. And I would argue he's probably in the long run a better actor than John Cena across the board. But what John Cena is doing here, I don't think he could do. There is just this vulnerability that he brings to it. And what I loved about this episode, particularly having him and Harcourt have this conversation with all of Argus surrounding them, is Chris is such a dork and is constantly reminded of what a loser he is, that we sometimes forget that he actually is a badass fighter. That there's a reason he falls into superhero category. And when he went into the other universe in episode 2 or 3 and took out all of those terrorists, we're like, oh yeah, fuck, Peacemaker's good. And even here, even though it is kind of goofy and silly the way he does it, him showing up and keeping somebody between him and Judo Master the whole time and having no concern about his ability to escape Argus, you're like, oh, he is a badass, but he's not interested in that anymore. Like, he shows up even knowing that Harcourt warned him not to show up, that this was a trap. So, okay, good on Harcourt. We know she didn't fully betray him. But he shows up just to be like, girl, do you like me? Yes or no? Check one.
That's what he wants to know. Yes.
Check one box. Yes or no. Do you like me? And she shuts him down. And he does ignore this when he gets into it later. Like, the fact that she warned him answers that question. Mm-hmm. Like, the fact that she actually was faced with this choice where she can get everything back that she wants if she just does this thing, and she is playing it down the middle a little bit to hopefully get what she wants, but that answers his question. But the fact that he does that and she's like, you can't get out of here, and that he does just sort of take everybody on, and yes, Bordeaux is a cyborg and is about to shoot him in the head, and so Harcourt makes her choice. But when Chris is like, I could have gotten out of there. She fucked it up for me. I could have easily gotten out of there. I kind of believe him. And then later when he's with Rick Flag, the fact that he doesn't fight back literally at all. Yeah. Like, Rick Flag is like, fight me, do this. He's like, sir, I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to argue with you. I think about your son every single day. I know that doesn't change anything. You're just like, this is a changed man. And I do love that season 1, which maybe had a little bit more drive to the season, was Chris going, if I want everybody to see me as a real hero, I have to save the world. I have to do all this stuff. And then I have this great mission. It's going to prove something. Season 2 is a guy who's just like, everybody thinks I'm a loser no matter what. And he's kind of proving that he is the real deal. Yeah. And I just think that's delightful. And obviously I get why he makes the choice he makes at the end. Like, he's like, the girl doesn't like me. Rick Flag is never going to forgive me for what I did. I am always going to be seen as the guy who killed Rick Flag Jr., who's a better person than I was. And Amelia Harcourt thinks he's a better person than I was. Rick Flag thinks he's a better person than I was. Maybe he was a better person than I was. I can never make up for this, so I'm going to go to the other world where I don't have to deal with it. I'm like, yeah. I get it.
It's a touching decision at the end and he says, he leaves the thing behind and says, this is going to help you guys get promoted. And then you don't have to deal with me anymore. You'll be back in the good graces. I'll basically have reset the universe.
Everything that I did that ruined your life, I'm taking back.
Amazing how I wasn't going to get to that. Yeah, exactly what I'm saying there. And the thing is, when you've been in a place like that, where you think everything would be better if I wasn't here anymore, I think there's something really powerful in that. It's he's essentially, suiciding himself from this universe to go into the other universe. And the fact that he has shut out what he thinks, as Michael said earlier, stranded himself in this other universe, it's in essence doing that. And so I hope people caught that, because there's something really powerful in that. Shannon, what did you think of the storyline with him and what happened here? Anything more to add on your end that you caught as you're watching this episode?
I mean, his personal journey has been one of the most affecting things of the season. Like, as Vogel already put, like, there's not the big mission this season that is kind of propelling the story forward. It's really Chris's sort of interpersonal, his inner life that he's experiencing. The moment that Harcourt does say, like she's like, no, I don't have any feelings for you. Like that, I was drunk. That was a mistake. Like that's heartbreaking. Like that's really, really heartbreaking, because I feel like a lot of us have probably have had that conversation with someone that we felt a certain way that maybe they did or didn't. Those feelings weren't reciprocated, and to have that moment where they're saying, I don't want you. Like that is heartbreaking. Like that is the last thing that was holding him to this universe, and that is ultimately what
possibility, right?
Yep, that was the only thing. He's like, this Harcourt doesn't want me here. I can do a lot more good with the Harcourt over there. And so ultimately, like, is this self-serving? Yes, but he thinks he's doing the right thing. Like, these people, I've only messed up their lives. Over there, I can do something better. And so, yeah, I mean, in terms of writing, in terms of character growth, like, it's heartbreaking. Like he's got some wonderful, wonderful moments. And then the enhanced interrogation with Rick Flag Sr. I mean, that is a heartbreaking scene. I mean, I think when you look physically, could John Cena probably eat Frank Grillo's lunch? It might be a good fight, but I think ultimately Cena's coming out on top. I think Cena. I did say that. I don't think Mr. Grillo is going to be knocking at my door anytime. But that kick that he delivers to Christopher Smith's face that knocks him against the wall. I mean, an incredibly well shot scene. But also it's just absolutely heartbreaking, because in his mind, he's like, this is what I deserve. You know, I took away a good man, and ultimately, if this is how I have to end, this is how I have to end. And him getting out on a technicality because Economos logged his arrest, like that was fantastic. And yeah, Steve Agee, who just popped up on the screen for our podcast listeners, Steve Agee also did some great work in this, but I know we're talking about John Cena right now. But yes, but Christopher Smith's journey, all great.
Let's stay with what you just said here, Shannon. Get your thoughts on the Rick Flag situation. I mean, this was all manipulated and crafted so that he could, in essence, what he said, stop another, quote, Metropolis incident from happening. So did you like this as a twist? Did you buy it as a twist? Because he did say, like, I was enjoying this. And do you like the fact that they've now hinted at a romance potentially between him and Bordeaux?
Well, I think, like we said last week, like, or at least I said, I'm like, I really hope Rick Flag Sr. is a good guy. Yeah, I think this does not make him a villain, but it does make him someone who is blinded to what needs to be done. Like he is, his job has become secondary to what we see as revenge, and he sees as justice. Like, this piece of shit not only took away my son, he took away a good man. No matter what happens, I'm gonna get this mother effer. So Frank Grillo, again, doing a great job getting to play those levels that he doesn't always get to play in these bigger projects. The moment where he says to Bordeaux, like, he establishes that familiarity with her, the familiarity that did not work with Harcourt. And so you see now he's trying to get allies here. Like, do I see it as a romance? I'm not so sure about that. Certainly possible. But I just see it as he no longer, he knows the thing with Harcourt didn't work. Like, he knows what Harcourt did. It would have been better for him for Bordeaux to have taken that shot and just taken him off the board. So again, Frank Grillo continues to impress this season.
Michael, do you agree with that? It seemed like he was doing, Rick Flag Senior was doing all of this on purpose to lead to a particular end. What do we think about the situation? Did you buy his
Rick Flag, given I knew Amelia Harcourt was going to step in and take out Rick Flag, which is why I told you to take the kill shot in the first place, because this is the thing that I was thinking ahead 3 steps. Rick Flag is a lot of things. He's not Sherlock Holmes. I don't think he's thinking 3 steps, 4 steps ahead. In fact, what I like about Rick Flag is he's single-minded. He's like, this dude killed my son. Yeah. That is the entirety of his focus right now. Yeah. And anything he says about the Metropolis incident and this and that, I think is put to the side when it comes to his singular focus on Peacemaker. Now, that means he's an interesting character, that he has places to go. And I think James Gunn does a good job with characters that start in one place and end in another. When you look at, I think Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy Part 1 is a pretty uninteresting character. I think Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is interesting. And then Nebula in Endgame and Guardians 3, I'm like, she's a fucking great character. Nebula is amazing. She's my favorite thing in Guardians of the Galaxy. Rick Flag has a journey. He's a good soldier. He's a good guy who does the right thing ultimately in Creature Commandos. He is pro Superman in Superman. Thinks he's a good guy, doesn't think he made a huge error that led the same way that Lex Luthor does when it comes to Baravia. And here, he's blinded by his hatred of the guy that killed his son. And you're like, okay, I get that, but you are more of the villain or antagonist because of that here. And then when it comes to Bordeaux, I don't know that he's hitting on her. I think he's manipulating her. Okay. Now, look, he did go on a mission to save a princess and end up fucking her. So maybe he's just like, hey, never done a cyborg before. Like maybe that's where we're going with it. But the way that in both Harcourt's apartment and in the funeral scene that they showed at the beginning of this episode, they really focus on the call me Rick.
Yes, right? Sorry.
No, what were you going to say?
He even puts his hand on Harcourt's shoulder, right? Yeah. When they're sitting there. Yeah. Good point.
So I think that the fact that it's so highlighted, it's like, nope, call me Rick. Nope, call me Rick, as he's trying to bring her into the fold. And then you have this scene with Bordeaux where she's kind of about to call him out on you did the wrong thing here. And then he's like, hey, call me Rick. I think this is less here is a romantic subplot and more of what you were saying, which is, I don't know that he fully knows what Harcourt did, but I'm sure he suspects, can't quite prove it, didn't know about that copacetic word, but he's like, all right, I think that Bordeaux is going to be the one that's going to be on my side here, that I can get to do stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting.
She basically says that to him right near the end. She says, I'm willing to do, he took out agents. I'm willing to do what you want me to do. So now he's got a certain ally there, but an ally he's lost, though, it seems like he's lost my boy here, who exchanges a head nod with Economos when Economos logs this stuff in. So what do you think about this? Will he be joining the 11th Street Kids? Will he be part of this crew as they come together here to go after Chris? What do you think about that, Shannon? Do you think they're getting back together? Do you think he's joining the crew?
I don't know if he's going to fully become an 11th Street Kid, but I do think Langston Fleury up to this point, we haven't seen, but he does have has a bit of a moral center. Like the thing that he says to Economos, like, hey, you did the right thing. And that was one of the moments that I'm like, I like when they let Tim Meadows act and don't have him lean so hard into the humor that produces, for me at least, mixed results. I also think the thing with Bordeaux, I wonder if we're gonna get a call back to her giving him a wink and saying like, "Hey, we're looking out for each other." Whatever they set up like last episode.
Oh yeah,
when Economos kind of ratted him out to Bordeaux about the wink. And plus, I love Tim Meadows in a floral polo. I was just like, I loved his look. I was like, he was giving. He was giving me Sully from Uncharted vibes. I'm like, oh, that would have been an interesting choice. But yeah, I think ultimately we've seen that Fleury wants to kiss up to Rick Flag, but ultimately it seems like he has a line that he will not cross.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, look, I do love it when a character has a turn that kind of surprises you. And look, I know that for a lot of people, the bird blindness thing worked for him, and it didn't work for us, and we all heard about it in the comments. But I do love this idea that, okay, you sort of set up this character to just be this one joke, ridiculous, I call people names, I don't give a shit, I'm kissing up. And then when he actually turns to Economos and says, you did the right thing, I was like, oh, layers into it. And I liked it. So, if we keep going in this direction, not that we then abandon all the stupid stuff, but once you find that balance, it's what Shannon was saying about the whole scene with Chris coming through the park. When James Gunn finds that balance of goofy, stupid, and oh, there's something underneath, it works for me. And that one moment with Economos really was like, oh, all right, I'm more intrigued by you now. Shannon can have the floral print. I can have the character turn. We're both more into it than we were last week.
I agree. Well, speaking of character turns, here we go, Michael. Your thoughts on this? Eagly took care of business. He is the Prime Eagle, and him and his crew absolutely wrecked poor Red Saint Wild. I will say this. It was kind of the weakest of the plot lines that they had this season, but at least maybe it seems like we're done with it. But what do you think about it, how they handled this here?
Couple things. I will give them full props that for 5 seconds, I fully believed Eagly was dead.
Yes.
Fully believed it. Like he shot, the bird fell out of the sky, and I was like, no, Eagly's faking. And they cut to the dead eagle on the ground. And for 5 whole seconds, my brain went, oh, fuck, I can't believe they did that. I guess, yes, this is the episode where Chris feels like he loses Harcourt. He feels like there's no redemption. And if he loses his pet, that's the final straw. Eagly is dead. I'm fucking, like, I literally for 5 seconds was going through the ramifications in my mind. And then the other eagle swooped in and swiped him. And I'm like, no, my boy's okay. My boy's okay. But I will give them full credit that I mourned Eagly and was trying to figure out where that was going to lead into things for 5 whole seconds. Was it the weakest storyline? Yeah. Listen, as I said last week, Michael Rooker gave me a lot of laughs. So that was good. I'm curious, when you do a thing like this, is this just a one-off joke that James Gunn was like, hey, I want to give Michael Rooker something to do. We'll say that Eagly's the Prime Eagle. We'll call it a day. Or is this entire Michael Rooker showing up to hunt Eagly, to put the idea of a Prime Eagle out there?
Yeah.
And then at the end, we reveal that indeed, nope, you were not wrong. That Eagly is exactly what you thought he was. And we have seen the power in this eagle. Does this tie into some arc for Eagly? Like, does this tie into wherever James Gunn sees Chris Smith's journey going, which James Gunn being the arrogant James Gunn he is, Peacemaker is seemingly going to have a much bigger part in wherever the DC universe goes than any of us suspected. And does the fact that he is hanging with the spiritual pinnacle of all eagles, is that going to come back at some point? I kind of think it is.
Yeah, and then revealing that before they make the decision to go into the portal for us as the audience, I think is an interesting decision as well. Shannon, what do you think to this? Is Michael Rooker gone? Did you like this ending? And what do you think of the storyline and where we're going with Eagly, man?
Well, I'm presuming he's gone. I know he has one less finger based off of Eagly dropping it in front of Peacemaker. This was the definition of for me, a well-executed C storyline. That you have some bigger things happening, but you still have Michael Rooker popping up, and it's an incredible feat to have a character that is very broad, but you're portraying him so honestly and authentically that you get on board with what's going on. One, his elephant gun on steroids is something right out of my brain for a character that I work on. But the idea, because I was with Vogel, like the first time he got shot, I'm like, okay, that's not Eagly. Then when you saw the other eagles coming in and there was like the different color schemes, I'm like, oh, maybe that was Eagly. It wasn't until like we got the revelation that Eagly is the Prime Eagle. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know if Eagly makes it out of this season. I think there's a possibility that in the other world that Eagly might fall on the altar of sacrifice characters. I hope that's not the case, because to have a very funny C storyline finalized with a horrible death of these birds scratching and pecking Michael Rooker to death was one of the more one of the James Gunn things that worked, because I'm like, this doesn't feel out of place, even though it is terribly disturbing.
Yeah, I agree. It was pretty disturbing, but I did like seeing more character development, for lack of a better term, for Eagly. So I'm excited to see what this leads us to. Let's wrap up by asking about the ending. The 11th Street kids come together. They clarify a Harcourt's stance on things. Adebayo does. We see Vigilante crying into the arms. James Gunn said this in the post doc that did for this episode, that he finds comfort in his nemesis. So what does that mean going forward? But they're all now back together, including Economos, who is not 100% happy with having to go through all of this. And maybe they're going to pick up Fleury. We'll see. And they're all going in. They're going to figure out how to get Chris back. And we see the preview for next week, and it's clear that Harcourt is the one who is leading this effort to bring Chris back. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. So, Michael, what are your thoughts about what we might be seeing real quick next week?
Well, I do love the fact that Vigilante and Adebayo have this whole like she is his nemesis. He wants to be Chris's best friend, and it's clearly her. And I do think that is just another interesting layer to the 11th Street kids relationship. Economos continues to delight watching somebody who is at his heart a coward, who doesn't want to rock the boat, be put into a situation where he is forced to stand up for his crew, is great. Like even Harcourt earlier yelling at him about go put Chris in the system, right, and him being like, okay, God, like it's just, there's fun to it. As for what we're gonna see, the one thing we've talked a lot about this, and a lot of people have surmised we're gonna get some cameos over the course of the next 3 episodes. When we saw the Easter egg that Peacemaker in his other universe with his dad and his brother took out the same kaiju that we saw the Justice Gang take out in Metropolis, I all of a sudden realized Chris is on this journey where he killed Rick Flag Jr. in this world, and that fucked up his life. What would happen if the other Chris killed Superman?
Oh my God.
What if the cameo that we get is not Superman showing up in our universe for any reason, but the fate of the Superman in this other universe? Maybe not. Maybe we don't get that. But it all of a sudden occurred to me that we've all got a lot of opinions about this other Earth and the lack of anyone of any ethnicity or color that's not white. But this is also a world where there's the kaiju and the ultra humanite and a lot of the other super characters, the meta-human characters that we know of. Is there a Superman in that universe? Is he a racist or was he not a racist? And like, where are they? Why are these 3 the top tier heroes in this universe? So that's something we might see. I do think we thought Adebayo was going to go into this world and do the big reveal. Judo Master would also serve the purpose, and he's running around in there. But yeah, I think we're about to get into some crazy multiverse shit in a way that I'm actually excited about, and not in a way that feels belabored and like, oh God, more multiverse. And I think that's going to be interesting. And I do love that while Harcourt's feelings about Chris emotionally are still unresolved, and I don't know where that's going to go, I'm glad that we have gotten very clarity on the fact that she might not love Chris, but Chris is her friend and she's going to stand up for him. And I do like that as well. So I'm happy about where everyone is placed, and I'm excited to see where things could go.
All right, Shannon, what are you excited for next week, or what are your guesses next week? Because that Superman is a pretty big reveal in my mind. Go ahead, yeah.
So before we saw the coming attractions for next week, I was just like, oh, okay. So one of them has a connection to Mr. Terrific, and he's going to be the one who shows them how to use the thing. Once you see the coming attractions and they're by themselves, I'm like, maybe they don't need Mr. Terrific. In terms of what we're going to get, like obviously Judo Master being the one that our Peacemaker might have to team up with, I think is a very, very fun idea. And just real quick, there are certain actors that when they cry on screen break your heart. Louis Pullman was that in Thunderbolts with the group hug moment at the end. Freddie Stroma sitting on that bed crying into Adebayo's chest. I was like, oh my God, this is heartbreaking. So I think when you look at the characters who could potentially be taken out. Vigilante is going down and Eagly is going up.
Ooh,
but
okay.
but I really hope that we get to see Vigilante wreck house, because it is fun watching him kick ass.
Yeah, it feels like they're leading up to a sacrifice from him. And I because they've kind of made him the dummy throughout the first few episodes. And last season, although he had elements of that, there was still more connection. So having him have an emotional moment, and as James said in the document, like the first time he's really shown real emotion,
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing to show before they go on this journey. That you want the audience to care for your character before you do something to this character, right? Because it has impact. So I think that's a smart move. I hadn't thought about Superman thing, Michael. I hope that sounds exciting. Let's see how they make that work. Yeah, and it's a way of doing the cameo without necessarily doing the cameo, and I think that makes sense. But I do think the Harcourt loves him. I just think she's fucked up, and she doesn't know how to express it, because it's fucked up to love the guy who killed the guy you were having sex with before he went on this mission. And I think she's got to untangle her own wires, because she seems pretty emotionally stunted herself, before she can really realize her feelings for Chris. And I think that's what's going to be the arc for her in these next 3 episodes, is her realizing that she does love it. And that could be something that could be interesting if there is a season 3. So,
but I also think what could be really cool is that what James Gunn does well, and I'll give him credit on this as he is building this universe, is he does a good job of taking a character that you feel one way about, and over the course of multiple movies, different projects, changing it. Peacemaker at the end of the Suicide Squad was a piece of shit.
Yes.
The fact that we are where we are with him now, shocking. Rick Flag, we feel one way about, but over the course of multiple DCU movies where he's going to show up, he gets to have an arc where he's complicated, and he made mistakes, and he was more like focused on this, and maybe he changes. With Harcourt, I agree with you. I do think she loves Chris, but I think that she hates that she loves Chris, because she also loved Rick Flag Jr., and that has fucked her up completely.
Right.
Rather than getting to the end of this season and her going, yes, you are the one. If Peacemaker is going to be a part of the DCU going forward, like, make them the most fucked up version of Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter that you've ever seen in your life. Like, give me, Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter we never had our dance. We are the most purely chaste middle school romance you've ever seen, that we all were like, we want them to just get together and dance. Yeah. Give me the people that had the drunk hookup and can't get their shit together over the course of multiple movies, and then give me them getting together, and you have got me sold for like the next 3 years.
Yeah, because that's usually most people's relationships. It's not Captain America and Peggy. It's usually the other one. And they could fill that like Green Arrow, Black Canary hole that they don't, that they have in the DC, or have right now in the DC universe. Could be interesting. All right, well, there you go. That's our spoiler review for episode 5 of season 2 of Peacemaker. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about all these topics. Shannon, what do we have to tell these wonderful people who are watching or listening to us?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's @geek_buddies, on Instagram @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's @Shannon_McClung, on Instagram @Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is @MKToon. If you'd like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is @The Rocha Says.
Mikey.
Go ahead and leave us. Nope, don't do that yet. We are jumping the gun. Before you leave anything, go ahead and smash that like button below. Subscribe to Johnny's John Rocha page. Check out all the amazing content he's got there. Then leave your comments below and let us know what you think about Batman #1, which you should absolutely go check out. What do you think of the villains in the Batman Part 2? What do you think of everything Matt Reeves said? What do you think of a Daredevil Season 3? And where do you think things are going in the last 3 episodes of Peacemaker Season 2? Let us know in the comments below. If you're listening to us on a podcast, go ahead and leave us some comments and some stars so we go up in the rankings and more people can find us. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
Put all that on a t-shirt, everybody. I love it. Thank you so much, Shannon and Michael, for another fun show. And thanks to everyone for watching this. Y'all take care of yourselves. Be well, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of The
Geek
Buddies.